Imagine you're at a store and you walk past the candy aisle and you're just about to check out and you decide, you know what? I'm gonna grab that bar. I'm gonna grab that drink from the cooler because I'm really feeling it in the moment. A lot of the times you don't even realize or put conscious thought into analyzing the purchase you're about to make at that instant, but you kind of just decide that that's the thing you want to do. Another example, you might be looking for a place to eat and there's this place you always go to and you don't know where you're going to go yet, but you get in your car and you just start driving to see what's out there. And naturally, without even thinking too much about it, you just end up at that place. All of these decisions that we regularly make, and a good chunk of them are related to subconscious and how that affects our decision making. A lot of us don't realize it because it takes thought to realize what we're not thinking about. We have to think about it after the fact because we're not thinking about it in the moment. The subconscious is essentially our ability to make decisions without realizing we're making decisions. There's actually a lot of research that shows that people that want to remain mysterious and want to, keep a high profile image will wear more simplistic clothing to exemplify their need to not want to be noticed. And in return, that makes people more interested in noticing them. Likewise, people that have a lot of energy and want to, proclaim and engage with everyone will probably wear a lot of logo tees and graphic tees and things like that that are bold and make others notice them because they want to involve themselves in discussions. So a lot of times when, somebody comes up to you and you're wearing a shirt like this that's basic and they say, I really like your outfit, it kind of sets them aback because they're almost in their head, they were like, well, I don't understand why they like this. I wasn't really going or in the mood to talk to people today. I'm surprised that they wanted to have a conversation with me. But it's really related to, the decisions you made that put out that image that allowed others to come up to you. And a lot of times we expect people to recognize this image or these subconscious decisions that we're pointing out, but we don't even know what we're doing ourselves. I read a study, it was published in 1993 by Areni and Kim, and it found that classical music and listening to classical music can lead customers to buying more expensive wines, more expensive meals, and more expensive clothing, suggesting musical influences have a high amount of effect on your purchasing behavior. Vice versa too, assuming the similar train of thought, you could assume a bar, right, that's playing fast-paced or higher energy music like rock or country or something like that is going to be encouraging people to move at a faster rate, maybe drink their beverage faster and to move at faster purposes to get out of there so they can move more traffic in. I walked into Macy's not that long ago and I noticed they were playing some, Frank Sinatra type music back in the day, Nat King Cole, stuff like that. And that kind of more bougie classical feeling made me more inclined to activate a sense of myself that was more formal and more elegant. And I decided to purchase some nicer shirts than I originally had intended when I went in the store. There's also studies about color psychology. For example, Elliott and Mayer in 2017 showed that red enhances attention to detail, while blue might enhance your creativity. So I want you to think about the type of room you're in, right? I'm right now in a classroom type setting where I have, very simplistic color schemes behind me. And this really discourages people from getting trapped in other types of influences and encourages more logical thought because they're not, distracted by a bunch of other things going on. If you're at a nice cafe, you might notice there's, vibrant paintings or foliage or different types of, architectural designs that enhances the place with color because coffee shops traditionally are places that encourage artists and creative thinkers and entrepreneurs to come and work in their environment. So that naturally brings out the best talent, and these people will probably feel more productive working there, and they'll probably come back. A study in 1999 by Chautron and Barr demonstrated that mimicry in social interactions can lead to a positive feeling and a smoother interaction. And we know this from dating too, right? Somebody's sitting back, they're really relaxed. You're gonna naturally, want to slouch back in your chair too. Or maybe they're using a lot of hand gestures or they're really engaged with you back and forth. You're gonna wanna share the same energy instead of just sitting here with your hands and not making much movement. The more you tend to imitate someone else's behavior without, making it completely obvious when you move your hands at the same time, then you're gonna do better and you're gonna actually notice that the conversation flows a lot better. If you were to see a recording of the conversation, you would probably notice a lot of time that you mimic other people in your subconscious and you don't realize that what you're doing is naturally mimicking the other person. Because it goes both ways, right? Somebody is influencing you and you're getting along with them, or you want to make them influenced and you want to influence them. Either way, you're going to be copying each other's behavior. And the more like each other you are, the more you're going to realize that you get along and the better connection that's made. That's why salesmen will often bring you, into their office, and they'll ask basic questions about you to get to know you. And, whatever energy level you put out, they're going to be matching you on that, because if they're really a good salesman, because they want to allow you to feel more comfortable in the environment that they're in with you, so that they can eventually build a connection where they can then push the sale forward. There's also a lot of data that suggests authority has a huge amount of impact on our subconscious. For example, the Milgram experiments in 1963, where a patient was behind a wall where, the subject could hear them, and a test partner in a lab coat would come in and ask the subject to administer shocks to this unknown person, where they could then hear them reacting in pain. And the doctor kept telling them to increase the voltage to a point where it was almost lethal to the other person behind the wall. And although people knew that what they were doing was wrong and they were going to hurt the other person, their subconscious belief in the levels of authority and how authority affects them made them commit the acts and made the decisions that they did to inflict pain on unknown people. Imagine if your mom asked you to give a speech in front of 1,000 people versus the president of the United States. Which of those figures do you think is going to have a greater impact on your ability to go out there and achieve what is asked of you? And here's my last cool study I found before we get into what this video is truly about. One released in 1996 by Barr, Chen, and Burroughs found that people exposed to words that were related to old age, like docile or elderly, made them actually move and act in a way that old people would. They would walk slower, they would move slower, they would talk slower. And things like that would affect their connections that they had with other people when other people address them like that a lot. Our subconscious plays a huge role in our actions, and it can affect anything from the way we talk to other people versus the way we actually work and make decisions that can impact our life and our success at a huge level. Let's say you own a marketing agency. Imagine, if somebody told you that you need to be more creative, or you're pretty boring. You're probably going to make more decisions with your marketing agency that is more drastic, right? Because you want to fight against those criticisms that other people have of you. So you're going to take that in and decide that you're this action taker, and you're not going to just be basic, right? You're going to make ads that are completely out of the ordinary and touch a whole different base of people. Versus if somebody tells you, you're doing too much, right? Or you got too much going on, you might need to, simplify your approach a little bit more. You're going to take that feedback, and although you might just say, yeah, that's good, your subconscious will probably take that in, and you're going to notice, in the next couple weeks, the ads that you make are going to be more simplistic and straightforward. And, here's the link, here's our item, let's buy this, instead of, being more drastic in the way you approach different audiences. The big part about this I see is when it comes into social media, right? You're trying to build a business and you go on social media, right? And you're in this entrepreneur or success, grind set section of the internet. And you're seeing all these videos of people, riding on yachts and, money spreading and doing all things with the success that they've had, in 2 months of work. But in your mind, you're going to say, okay, yeah, that's probably not very realistic. But your subconscious is still going to take that in. And in the back of your mind, right, every time you have a failure in your business, you're going to find it a lot easier to want to give up versus if social media wasn't playing a role in that at all. Think about like the 1970s, right? Like it was really hard to talk to people or get on social media, right? It wasn't even like a thing. And so you couldn't really just hop on the internet and find out how other businesses in your area were doing. You just had to assume that you were making a lot of the right decisions and then getting feedback from close people in your circle. And that made it way harder for people to want to give up because they didn't have as much, feedback coming into their loop telling them that, something was going wrong or they weren't reaching success as fast as they should be. So I want to tell you that if you think you're making the right decision and the data especially backs it, and you make sure of that, right, then you have no reason to quit because where you're at right now is just a step in the journey. If you know that the end goal is there and you can see a path to the end, then don't feel like you have to give up because your subconscious might be telling you to. And you have to realize that although your subconscious can be good, right? And it can do the opposite thing. You can see motivation videos and then all of a sudden feel like you have to be motivated towards something. Your subconscious can also be equally detracting and be the villain in some cases. So here's a couple strategies to mitigate the effects of your subconscious taking over for you. So the first of these is the decision-making pauses. So I always ask myself at least two why questions when I'm making decisions. So example, I want to start let's stick with marketing business, right? I always ask myself why 2 times, So the first one is, why would I want to start a marketing business, right? And then I might say, okay, because I want to make a lot of money. And then I might say, why do I want to make a lot of money? And then, my answer to that might be because I want the time freedom that comes with money. And then I can go through and say, okay, well, now that I know that I really target time freedom instead of just, having a marketing business, is there another option that can give me time freedom without me having to start this business that I don't actually know if I'm interested in or not? Asking why at least twice bypasses the subconscious system of feeling like, you have to do this because maybe last week I saw 4 videos on huge marketing agencies that blew up, and now I feel like I have to start this because this is the best thing for me to be doing. When I find out the root cause of why I want to pursue something, I can then find alternate strategies and then make a decision based on logic and information instead of what my subconscious tells me it thinks is the best thing to do. Because it's really thinking with a caveman brain, right? It's really saying, oh, this made you excited. Let's stick with this emotional feeling you had to this and think it's the best thing for you to do. Another one is educating yourself and self-reflecting on your biases, right? You might have political biases, for instance, right? You might follow either side of the spectrum. And this might be a good exercise too. You should ask yourself, why do you have the views that you have? What are the actual reasons that you support, the party you support? What specific things in their agenda do you support that makes the party best for your needs? Because otherwise, you might just have a lot of friends in your friend group, right, that are supporting, you're leaning toward this political party, but you don't actually understand why you like this if you actually think about it. You might think that some of the things that they're doing are completely off or wrong, and maybe you have some other views that contrast that, and maybe you're more in the middle than you think. So the same way with that, right? You might think a certain process for a business because you heard it in a video and it's in the back of your mind is the best way to pursue this idea. However, I want you to actually go out, use a resource like ChatGPT or use the internet and actually ask those sources for ways that you can scale and grow the business that you're interested in. And that way you have a huge multitude of perspectives and you don't feel like the idea that's in the back of your head has to be the one you pursue. The people that get stuck in one box of success and one box of progress and path forward are the people that fail at the end of the day, because if there's any leaning off of that path that's in the back of their mind, they feel like they have to give up because it's just not going to work out. When in reality, there's 50 other ways you can make that idea succeed. And this leads us into the third perspective. Seek diverse perspectives. Find people in your close friend group, right? And you should already have a good friend group of people that are related to the same success that you want to achieve. I want you to go through your plan for success with them. People that, aren't just going to rip you off and take your idea, or people that, will actually give you honest feedback and not just people that want to sugarcoat your idea with their own compliments. I want you to get the viewpoint of the strategy that you want to do for your business and lay out the path forward to them and see if they have any thoughts about the way you can go forward. That's basically what consulting is. That's what business consulting is. It's something that I offer in my description if you want to do it for free, but being able to have feedback on your business idea is so invaluable to companies while they might not realize it, because they might be taking actions for their business that are only linked to their subconscious thought, and they might not even realize that there's a ton of other ways they could be doing this when they might feel like it's the only option for them. This makes you think through things too, right? Just the process of explaining your business idea to someone else, if you haven't done that already, makes it more likely for you to pick up on the holes in your strategy forward so that you don't spend a ton of money trying to patch them later on. Again, if you don't have a friend, just use ChatGPT, type your full business idea in it, and then at the end say, find any logic flaws in this strategy that I might be able to fix before I start. Finally, just work on overall mindfulness. I want you to be present in the moment. A lot of us, and I have a bad habit with this, and I have in the past, but it's gotten a lot better, is I've always been thinking about the next thing. And you know, that's not always a bad thing, because a lot of us, you know, we should be predicting future problems that are going to arise, but we don't actually realize what we're doing in the moment. We just assume that, you know, the task I have scheduled for next Thursday, when that comes to be due, that's exactly what I have to be doing in that moment. I don't actually sit down enough and say, you know, is this event that is now in the present moment the best thing for me to be doing with my time right now? And I'm currently living, you know, always planning ahead and living in the future moments, when I'm not actually thinking about what I should be doing with my present time, instead of just relying on my past self to make the best future decisions for me. So if that's you, right, and you're living your life currently always by the schedule and always thinking about the best thing to do, you know, next week at Tuesday at 4 p.m., right? When it's that time, ask yourself, when it gets to each event that you're going to be doing, is this actually the next best step for my business or my personal development? If the answer is yes, go ahead and do it. If not, forgive yourself that you scheduled it at this time, move it to a different point, right? And figure out what you have to do now, so that when that thing that is in the future now comes due, you are actually ready for it and you're not just going to be wasting time. Other than that, I love you guys, right? You guys are killing it in business. I want you to keep succeeding, but first you have to realize that you have biases. We are humans. It's natural. You can't hate yourself for thinking the way you do, because our entire development, our entire childhood, our entire growth has led us to the moment where we now realize that, you know, we make decisions based on the way we were raised, or the impact we have from other people, or the things we see online. And that's okay, because everyone else is subject to the same things. It just comes down to realizing that you are you at the end of the day. And although you may feel like you're making the decisions, actually make them for yourself. Don't make them for someone else or for something you think you should be doing. Live your now, and don't try to be anyone else that you're not. I'll see you next time.